This is the 5th video in a series dealing with Whirlpool and Kenmore dryers and how to repair them. This will be dealing with a dryer that won't heat and diagnosing the heating element. Safety first, so always disconnect power before servicing any electrical appliance. This is the back of this Kenmore dryer, and Kenmore is one of the brands made by Whirlpool, so they're the same on a lot of them. First thing to do to get to the heating element where we can do any testing is remove the back panel. So use 1/4 inch drive tool and remove all 9 screws around the outer edge of the back panel so that we can remove it. Now when you get ready to remove this back panel, you need to be very careful not to cut yourself on any of the sharp edges. All around this thing are very sharp and they will cut you very easily, so be careful when handling it. To remove it, just tilt it back away from the machine and then lift it up and out of the channel that it sits in. There's a lip on the bottom, and that lip sets into a channel on the base of the machine, so once you lift it forward, tilt it forward, you'll be able to easily remove it. Here's the back of the machine after you've removed the panel, what it looks like, and here's a few letter boxes telling you what everything is. Heating elements on the right hand side bottom of the picture, you'll see it marked there, and that's what we're going to be dealing with testing on this dryer. The first thing you need to do is remove the wires that are on the terminals of the heating element. I'll go ahead and remove the one from the thermostat as well. You have to have all the wires disconnected, otherwise your test results won't be true, because you'll be testing the circuit instead of just the heating element by itself. Once you get all the wires removed, you're going to use a digital voltometer or an analog voltometer, either one, and set the ohm reading to its lowest setting, and then you'll be able to hook it onto the terminal blades. The terminal blades for the heating element are the blades that come out of the white ceramic insulator that's on the bottom of the heating element. So once you've got your voltometer ready, just go ahead and hook one lead onto one of the terminals and then the other one to the other. You should get a low reading, less than 1 ohm. This one is a good heating element. It's got 0.2, 0.4, 0.6. Now what I'm doing is testing for a short between the heating element and the wire. And as you can see, I'm not getting a reading when I go to the body. You should do this with both terminals. I'm only showing you here doing it on the one terminal, but do it on both. I'm also checking across the thermostat at this point to make sure I do have continuity across it, which I do, so that's good. This heating element did test good, but I'm going to go ahead and show you how to remove and replace it if yours is bad. If you had an open reading when you tested across those 2 terminals on the ceramic down there, or if you have a short between one of those posts and the body of the heating element, you definitely need to replace it. The first step is going to be remove the thermostat off of it, because the new one will need to have your thermostat reinstalled on it. And just go ahead and either remove the screws that are holding it on. In this case, it has a tab that bends in, using a screwdriver to pry it up, and then also pry it up off the post if yours is this style that's on the post. And then you'll be able to just lift the thermostat right out. And now I'm going to go ahead and pry that other one off the post, and there it is. Once you've removed the thermostat, you can proceed with removing the heating element. The heating element has 2 1/4 inch screws. There's one there I'm pointing to and another one opposite side. I'm going to go ahead and remove it first. Just use a 1/4 inch. Remove both screws. Once the screws are removed, you just lift the bottom of the heating element towards you, and then it will just come right out. And it's very simple. You can inspect the heating coils at this point and look for anything that's broken. Of course, if one of them is broken, then you definitely need to replace it. To reinstall it, just slide it up in there in that slot. You have these 2 dimples that will go into the spot there to help hold it in place, and then realign the holes where the mounting screws went. Once you get it into position, you don't want to make any kind of contact between those coils and the body. You can smush the coils and cause damage to the coils, so you want to be very careful not to just force it up in there. You need to make sure you're doing it carefully so the coils don't make contact with the heat box. Once you've got it in place, go ahead and reattach it using the 1/4 inch screws that you removed previously. Of course, the next thing to do would be reinstall the thermostat. And just reinstall it back the same way it was. These wires need to go back in the same positions they were at. So if you have difficulty remembering where the wires belong, you might want to mark them before you take them off. But with dealing with this few wires, it wasn't too difficult to remember exactly where they go. Once the thermostat's back on, reattach the wires on the correct terminals where they came from, and then we can proceed to go ahead and put the back cover back on. To reinstall this cover, again, be careful not to cut yourself on it. The lip on the bottom, which is what I'm pointing out there, that needs to set into the channel on the bottom edge of the machine. And so lean the top out away from the machine and slot that bottom in to where the slot is. Be careful with the power cord not to cut it on the surface of the edge of the panel, because it is very sharp, like I said. Lean it down towards the floor and it should just snap right in place and then fold right up into exactly the position it needs to be in so that you can reinstall all the screws. Again, just reinstall the 9 1/4 inch screws. I noticed on this dryer it does not have a tension relief clamp on the power cable where it goes onto the machine, so I'm going to install one. You're not going to see it on this video, but it definitely needs to have one there. So if you have a dryer that's missing the strain relief clamp, you need to get one and go ahead and put it on as well. Reinstalling the terminal cover plate. That same screw holds it in place as well as on the back panels, so they have to go back in together. And once you finish installing all 9 screws, you'll be ready to go ahead and plug it in and test it out.